Warning. The following episode contains extreme spoilers for the film Wyrmwood, Road of the Dead. As such, excuse me. What? Narrator Keith. This is other Keith, from the actual episode. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just need to interrupt for a bit because I just listened to it and I realized that there's something more important we need to address instead of this bit you're about to do. So I was listening to the episode and I realized around the beginning it was a little unclear what I was talking about with the gas thing. I was just mumbling a lot, as usual. And what I was referring to is the effect where the zombies would expel a visible gas from their mouths. And we were wondering if the audience could only see it or if the characters could. And we decided that whether or not the characters could actually see it, it was kind of an important hint for something that was going to happen later on. Anyway, I'll get out of your way now. What? It's like the studio's on a hellmouth or something. Welcome to Marianne's Macabre Movie Review.
Hi guys. Before we start the podcast, I wanted to talk to you about some super cool things that are on IABD Presents, like Dirty Story Night. This is competitive erotic fiction, and with a monthly theme like anime, board games, superheroes, or Trump. I was the winner for that month. Wink, wink. If you're looking for something a little naughty or a lot naughty, check out Dirty Story Night. Also, check out IABDpresents.com for more neat stuff. And please support our programming at patreon.com/IABD. Hello and welcome to Marianne's Macabre Movie Review. Today we watched Wyrmwood, Road to Redemption? Road to, what is it?
Road of the Dead.
Road of the Dead. Today we have Steve Lichtman, Betty Lichtman, and Keith Jackson, and me, Marianne. This was new to Keith and I. This came highly recommended by Betty, and so from our Get Out podcast.
Steve hated it.
No, I didn't say that. Betty was the one that was the driving force for this podcast. So that's why we were doing it. And my goodness, was this amazing. Because, in my ranking of horror films, zombies is like a few ranks above slasher. Like the Jason and stuff like that. Like, I could take it or leave it. Man, this zombie movie, this was good. But I'm rambling. So let's get everybody's 2 minutes uninterrupted. What did you think, Steve? You start. Okay, well, clearly I love the film.
When I first saw the trailer, it just randomly popped up in my YouTube feed or something one evening. I watched. I'm like, shit! Why didn't I think of that? That's brilliant. Mad Max meets zombies. Why didn't I think of that? So then as soon as I could watch it on streaming, I rented it and I made Betty watch it and she loved it. So then as soon as it came out as Blu-ray, we bought it. I think it does a good job. First off, I wouldn't call it a good film, but it is a highly entertaining film. And it does a really good job of playing with the zombie tropes, yet introducing some very original ideas. And there's some really dark humor in it, which I enjoy. Yet there's also moments that are actually very emotionally touching, which surprised me the first time we saw it. So overall, I really enjoy this film a lot.
Well, again, I'm really not that into horror films, but when you add comedy and drama into them, they kind of pull me in. And this one's got a lot of comedy that really pulls at me. So that's kind of why I liked it.
It was very silly at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
But still brought you right back into the scary parts. Mm-hmm. The first time watching it, there's a lot of, oh my God, and jumps. But the funny parts bring you back.
I think at one point in time, Steve was like, "You're hurting my hand."
And she's seen it 5 times.
I was about to say, how many times have you seen it?
I don't know if it was fear or excitement. Because I'm like, it's coming to school.
Yeah, very good.
That's it.
That's descriptive.
No.
Wow.
It's like what you were saying. It's the zombie tropes. It introduced a couple of new things that I hadn't seen before. Well, one thing really, the gas, or I really didn't see that coming. I thought that was very nice of Betty to play that off as well when you asked about it. I mean, it's you were asking, can they see
Can
that?
they see that?
The
Yeah.
fumes from the mouth. And whether they could or couldn't, I guess, wasn't important. But actually, I guess it really could have been either for our benefit or for theirs. But it certainly worked. The one problem, the thing about being able to control the zombies, I would have been more surprised if I hadn't already been watching a lot of Z Nation. I don't know if you've ever seen that series, but
I've seen like an episode or two.
yeah, that's like one of the linchpins of the
Right.
like the series arc. So I mean, it was still impressive. I wasn't expecting it to happen in this, and it really helped. It really added to the another dimension to it. But as I said, it wasn't as shocking to me as it could have been. I think we're during the experiment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. It's I probably like zombie films more than her, but at the same time, there is some of the burnout. And so when we saw, I can't remember what I thought this movie was going to be. I mean, I know I'd heard of it before and it had been in my queue for a long time. And once I knew it was a zombie film, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I guess. But I mean, this is just sort of okay. And then it just sort of ramped up suddenly. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they thought of doing that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yes. So wow, Keith does watch Z Nation, and I've watched a few episodes, and I'm interested, but I have not watched any of the episodes where zombies get controlled. So this was new for me, and this was that's pushed it over the edge because I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have a scene where she gets raped and stuff, and it's gonna be like, oh, let's have some gore porn with the girl now. But no, I was like, oh, what? As soon as she figured out she could control him when she was doing the hand gestures, wow, I was like, okay, next level. This is getting really good because it's the Mad Max aspect is a pretty good concept to have already. So I was like, when it says, talented mechanic prepares to battle his way through a horde of flesh-eating monsters. I was like, okay. I mean, yeah, that's good. I mean, I was expecting almost like a MacGyver Mythbusters type thing, like dun, 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 here we go.
They had the one scene where they build the engine out of Neville.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, that was really good. That was once they had that epiphany, I was like, oh, okay. Here's the mechanic part of this. And then I was like, well, he's going to have to keep doing stuff like this. And then they switched on me and did it to his sister. I was like, yes, this is so cool. This is so good. I mean, yeah, the wackiness. And I did like the fact that Benny was not the, like in American horror films, the black guy is the first guy to get killed. And he survived till almost the end. And that was very good. I was like, no, I really like this character.
Yeah.
But then reading in the trivia where they said that one guy, Chalker, was supposed to be the buddy sidekick, and he left to go to a play, and then so they gave his lines to Benny. Makes sense. I like it better, actually. I really liked the guy's delivery and everything. I thought he was really good.
You, Benny?
Yeah, Benny.
Yeah. Well, the introduction between him and Barry is really, it still startles the shit out of me because Chalker, this other character, we've only known for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But he's so laid back and he's like, no, man, it's you and me. Come on, we're going to work this out. Mm-hmm. And then, bam, he's dead.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's Benny that killed him because he thought he was a zombie.
Is he okay?
Yeah.
I would say that's probably one of the third things about the movie that was most surprising. Maybe the most surprising thing. It felt like they were doing a bit of some sort, and once you looked that up in the trivia, it made a lot more sense.
Right, I did not know that before.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was it really turned the storytelling on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you weren't expecting it, and so at that point, it's kind of like you don't know what to expect going out.
Yeah.
From there at that point on, and it really played to the movie's strengths. I thought.
I did, yeah, Definitely.
But it still startles me every time I watch the film. Right time I see it, it's like, oh man, Chalker's about to. Oh, there it goes.
Damn it.
Like I said before, it's not. I wouldn't put it up there with like Casablanca in terms of a good film. But again, it's highly entertaining, provided you can like just kind of wash over some of the inconsistencies and whatnot, and just enjoy it on its own terms. The one thing that irked me is it's clear that these guys were like going for like a Tarantino vibe at one point with the scientist character, having listened to the 70s, funk and having his little quirks. So that still bothers me a little bit. That's my main complaint about it in terms of like...
That might have not been something they really thought of. They're Australian, so...
Yeah, but everyone knows Tarantino.
Yeah,
I mean, since the 90s, he's exploded, and you see it. You see it lots of places. People trying to kind of ape his style and his quirkiness that he introduces in the films. And again, this is that type of a film. It's kind of got a bit of a grindhouse feel to it.
Definitely a grindhouse feel, yeah. Especially with the blood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best CG, but it's good enough. I mean, there were
right for the budget they had. They did a really good job with things.
I wanted to note it said this took 4 years to complete because they only worked weekends. That in itself is wow.
Yeah.
It's like to have, because I didn't notice any continuity differences.
Right.
Like the hair or anything.
Yeah, exactly. You would think after 4 years he'd be like, hey, maybe I'm not wearing the same, maybe I didn't shave today, or maybe I didn't do this. That's top notch there with their editing.
Being covered in blood helps, I would imagine, in some places.
Yeah, that's the only one I did notice. In one scene, he is like plastered with blood, and then the next scene is just drips on his face. So yeah, there was a little bit, but maybe he sweated it off.
Might have had a towel or something. Yeah.
I had a couple of very minor things. Although, since you mentioned the Grindhouse thing, reminded me of I've also been watching the Grindhouse series on Sci-Fi, Blood Drive. Have you seen any of that?
No, I have not.
The premise of that is they were driving cars that run on human blood, so...
Similar.
Well, part of it, anyway. It's like a death race kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing a lot of derivative things purposefully anyway in that series, but that was kind of interesting. Or at least, again, that's another thing that would have shocked me less had, whatever. The first thing that bothered me just a little bit was the phone call from the sister at the beginning. Maybe you guys have an explanation for it. She seemed awfully certain that there was some sort of epidemic when she shouldn't really seem to... I wouldn't have thought that she would have had enough information to jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, there's a lot of rushed exposition there in that phone call, but I think it's brief enough that it didn't bother me that much.
Right.
But yeah, you're right.
And that was pretty much it.
And they never really... I don't know if they never explain necessarily what causes the outbreak.
Yeah.
They kind of hint at these religious tones and whatnot, and there's some scientific evidence behind it too. They're trying to work in there, which is kind of cool.
Well, the thing about zombie, the genre is that they get by on that generally.
Right? That's true. They never explain it.
Yeah,
it just happens.
That's supposed to be
all
the thing.
The smart guys are dead now, so it doesn't really matter.
like every major thing that I've seen so far, really. There's like the Return of the Dead series where they sort of explained it. They actually had the army scientists. We were experimenting with these things.
Oh yeah.
So it's okay. There's that. A direct explanation. Other than that, what was it? Zombie? Yeah, okay. They did have the word zombie. They seemed to know what zombies were, but they didn't know to shoot them in the head at first.
But they didn't shoot all the zombies in the head. There was like the one in his kitchen. They kind of just severed his neck with the axe, and that seemed to do the trick.
Well, yeah, that's another thing that they do in zombie. It's severing the spinal cord.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I guess my point is, it just I would have liked to see them explore that a little bit. The idea of what they thought a zombie was or something, but
how did they mobilize so quickly with Tesla coil trucks?
Exactly, and how did they get? Why weren't they at least a little bit interested in? Hey, how's your car still running?
Yeah.
I
think maybe somebody had something to do with it, and maybe since they're going to do more, they'll explore that.
Yeah,
possibly.
That would be nice.
Because it's like they came up with their truck, and it's obviously just sort of, hi, we just built this.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Tesla coil trucks,
right? Yeah, running on electricity.
Some
sort of.
Yeah.
and all set up with the restraints in the back. Unless they were doing something really kinky, freaky, then this is set up just for this.
Yeah.
And they certainly were not government-issue troops. There's something else there that hopefully they do explore.
That's like an umbrella corporation.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, well, let's put on fatigues and go and be our thing. Yeah. These things.
So
but
I think that...
the A negative sooner than anybody else did.
That is interesting.
With something that they stabbed in and then shook.
Yeah, which I don't know about the science behind that, but again, you just kind of go with it. You know, if that's the least of your worries right now.
Yeah. Is anybody here A negative?
No, I'm B positive.
I am A positive.
I think I'm O positive.
Me too, I believe. Or is it O negative?
I
keep forgetting which one the rare one is. I'm whatever the rare one is not.
Okay. O something.
Yes.
You don't need to keep going.
Let's see what else.
Yeah, you might have to shoot me with a nail gun, babe. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll be in the same boat. So
we're all in the same boat.
But the things I was mentioning about the exposition, that is nitpicking in the sense that they do know that we, as horror movie watchers, should know some of these things. Let's kind of get to the. I was kind of impressed with some of the thought. I mean, I like just the idea of the thought behind what was happening with they had something like some sort of litmus test or the types of experiments he was doing, just something to kind of set it apart. And so I thought it was a positive too.
Yeah, the one thing that besides the stuff I've mentioned, the one nitpicky thing that I would mention, I mentioned before the podcast started, was the camera had a little too much of the shakiness towards the end. It had shakiness throughout the whole thing, but I could pretty much focus on it. But when they got into a fist fight of all things, it just kind of went crazy. And I was just like, I actually got motion sick and had to look away a few times. And I have a slight headache from it, just from that last 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I can watch an entire Paranormal Activity. But 5 minutes of this, but it was a little extreme. That's the only thing I would nitpick was the camera the shaky camera at that last point. I loved the plot. The plot was amazing. I really liked that the sister could control the zombies, and that when she died, she wasn't really dead. I was like, thank goodness, because I was worried that I was like, this is gonna be one of those Greek tragedies where everyone's dead. Wonderful, great. No,
or a Tarantino tragedy.
Or a Tarantino. But that was really good. I really enjoyed that. What else did I like? I like the female character a lot. They did have some really touching moments, like where Benny was saying, "Is this the worst place we could ever be?" Or
worst thing you've ever gone through? And Frank's like, not even close.
Yeah, he's like, my kid had cancer, and it was just like, oh, good. He's like, this is nothing compared to watching my kid die in my arms.
And then Barry's story too. The this is my story and what happened to me for this. And Barry's like, shot my wife and kid with a nail gun. I don't know how to make that into a story.
Yeah. But and then they do the flashbacks. Like that last scene with his wife. I think of you, and it's like, God, how would I react in that situation if it came to that? Could I pull the trigger? Mm-hmm. Could I, or would I just say, fuck it, eat me? Yeah. One last thing of trying to satisfy my wife. Go ahead, feed on me.
Yeah. It's one of those things because have you seen Stephen King's The Mist?
I haven't seen the movie, but I've read the original short story.
Okay, so The Mist movie, not the old one, but the newer one that came out a few years ago. Stephen King said after he watched it, he said he wished he could have written an ending that good.
I'm talking about the one that Frank Darabont made with Tom. What's his name?
I'll look it up real quick.
I know the ending of the one movie where basically they decide. Spoiler alert. That we're not going to make it. So he decides to kill his kid and everyone else in the car. And then the mist clears and there's the military.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. That's the one that Stephen King was like, he wished he could have written an ending that good. That's the wrong.
So that's the one that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's like, I was thinking, if he only had 3 bullets, and I've seen this. That people do this before. They put a gun to their head and then have the other
Everybody
person's
lined
head
up.
right there.
Well, that was a joke in Shaun of the Dead. It's like, we got 2 bullets. Let's see if we can. How would we do this? No, this isn't going to work.
It wasn't in Shaun of the Dead. It was some Korean film. But neither here nor there. That's how I would do it if I had to kill someone and myself, because it was like the all end all type situation.
Well, since you ask about that, I don't know. I mean, I think it would depend on how much information that I had available to me at the time. What I would do with Marianne.
But like, if you like to replace those 2 characters with you and Marianne right there with what they know at that moment, what would you do?
Yeah.
God, it's just I don't know.
Right. I mean,
how much time do you have to
do it like
maybe do a
Michonne?
research or-
Exactly. The Walking Dead
Yeah.
has spent like whole seasons on that question. But here in a low budget film that looks like it's going to be like Army of Darkness at the start,
Yeah,
they add
definitely.
those scenes in there and you're not expecting it. They kind of hit you a bit. I also liked how another scene that kind of touches me is after Frank dies, how they put Frank and is it Tony, the other guy that was his best friend? They put them next together on the side of the road.
Instead of keeping Tony as fuel, they leave
Well, no,
him
well
as
Tony
Frank.
was tapped out, but still, that's how they met them. Best mates hold up together, and that's how you leave them on the side of the road.
And the whole thing that Benny says, but the crows call him in to take his soul away.
Yeah.
We're good, we can shoot him now. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
The military thing again.
What about it?
This isn't about you, mate. This is about saving the human race. The other 2 people that were chained up that just could not regain consciousness the way she could. He sticks the thing up the guy's nose and pulls out blood,
Yeah, I
something.
Don't know. I don't know what he was trying
And
to
then-
do there.
Look like he was testing it.
Right.
Packages it.
I think he had some clear idea what he was going for.
Because 5 injections
Right.
of the zombie blood into your neck, and then he busts your brain out. Well,
that was like, is that a lobotomy? Because it was like right up here.
right.
And
Look more like when you're killing a cow or something.
Yeah.
So is he trying to take something from them that he thinks he can give to people to save them?
Maybe.
That's my guess.
And not realizing that he just found it by injecting her 5 times.
Well, I don't know if he was
and
going
letting
for
her
zombie
regain
control.
consciousness.
Yeah.
Was he A minus? Or was...
We don't know because
I don't think so because he's always in that suit.
But that suit was so shoddily put together. You could always see he had... I mean, I didn't know if he was high the whole time or what. Because
There was that
every
too.
time he'd go like this, you'd see like a giant where it wasn't zipped up or it wasn't Velcroed. I was like, if this was Outbreak, you would have Ebola by now. Kevin Spacey died because of that.
But I think some of it is that I'm just, again, if this is probably being too kind, but I think maybe he felt that he was in a controlled environment. So
Wait,
In the
what?
back of a truck?
In the back of a truck with blood every fucking where.
I'm talking about the way that the character's mannerisms. He was behaving as though that he was in complete control in that area.
Even with the
Jesus.
military guys
Yeah.
who were like, "Yeah, we'll take you down, dude." And he will, big talk, and then of course flinch like
Flinch.
crazy when they threaten him. But
So I guess hubris, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, like his keyboard was covered in blood.
Yeah.
There was blood on the walls. That he slipped on the blood at one point in time. I'm just like, come on. I mean, Steve and I are both testers. Quality assurance IT testing, but make sure you have if you're going to have a set of variables, you can't have like random shit all over the place and expect your testing to come out good. Oh, this is frustrating.
You don't get overconfident sometimes when you've been
I
testing things.
certainly don't.
Yeah.
Not at Nationwide.
What could possibly go wrong there?
Everything.
I'm just figuring if he'd have let the others wake up,
He's
maybe
probably
they
good.
would have had some sort of control too, and he could have found out that this is something he could use.
First time through, I didn't really get a good sense of who all was there. It looked like most of them
Right.
had turned already, as far as I could tell.
Yeah.
Well,
There
the
were
2 hanging
three.
next to her that were just unconscious with
There
the
was
little
a
code things going off.
Guy and a girl.
Yeah. They never did anything with the girl.
Yeah,
None
she
of the
didn't.
girl-
Yeah, I don't know if that does. I don't know if that wound up in the cutting room
Maybe,
floor or what.
Yeah.
maybe she'd already had the thing up her nose.
We don't know.
One thing that bothered me, now that you mentioned that too, at the very beginning of that bit where he was, I guess, injecting her, the way they shot it made it unclear what had just happened. It couldn't tell if it was putting it in her arm or the other girl in the room or some other person.
He went like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it showed her neck.
No, before that, like it's when he was just going into like an arm or something.
No, he goes.
That was
up
when they
and
first
under.
the two soldiers picked her up in the garage at the start of the film. They drew blood out of her arm.
No, when he was first talking to her.
Okay.
Maybe I missed her leaning forward or whatever, but I saw her look up. They did a close up of her. They did a close up of the needle going into someone's arm. Then actually showed like a full shot of him touching her.
I think that was the back of her neck.
Yeah.
There was also he drew blood out of the back of the one zombie's neck.
Yeah. And then injected her with it.
Right.
It's like after the drawing of the first zombie, and then
it was in her neck.
I could have just missed something.
Yeah, I think you looked down or something. Yeah. It doesn't take long. Because, she kind of, and he was like, I need to do this.
If I don't do it correctly, you could have a seizure.
Right.
And then she nods and then lets him and is very nervous. Because she's felt this pain before. It's not pretty.
Mm-mm.
It's a big needle. It was,
huge
one
needle.
Of those needles were like, it's like, all I have to do is go, eat, like this. And
yeah, the only needle that I've seen that was bigger was in Mad Max.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Do we have anything else to say? Do we have...
Something I wanted to touch on earlier, I think you had mentioned some of the shaky camera stuff getting into you. I'm positive the stuff they did with that on the road, like it's like the point of view of the road, that's like a tribute to George Miller, who directed the Mad Max films, because that's exactly how like the Road Warrior and the original Mad Max is filmed.
I did like those scenes.
Yeah.
It was really cool. It was such a smooth transition.
Right.
You'd see the one car drive off that you were following, and it would keep going there. At one point in time, towards the end, when it happened, after Benny had been shot, I was like, wait, they turned off.
I gotta turn around.
Yeah, come on, guys. But yeah, that was I like that scene. Those driving scenes were just so well done. It's like you kind of wonder how they do it sometimes. Like when we were at Gen Con, we did some film seminars.
Okay.
And
panels.
Yeah, that's what it is. And they we had one lady that talked about, she was like, I was the actress in it, I was the camera person in this. She said if I could have done everything, I would have, but I had to get someone to hold the camera for scenes I was in. Yeah, and it was really cool. And so it makes me, especially to hear that they were working weekends on this, makes it seem like it's not a big budget film or anything. I don't know anything about it, so to know that they're doing this probably on a shoelace budget on weekends is just amazing.
Yeah, clearly a passion project.
Yes.
And for people out there listening who are saying, I can't ever write a book, or I can't ever write a story, or ever do a podcast, whatever, these guys did a movie. It took them 4 years, but they stuck with it on weekends, making the time. So there you go.
No wonder that guy had to leave for a play halfway through.
Right. Yeah, I gotta eat, guys. Sorry.
2 years into it, he's like,
this isn't pain
enough
enough.
to do. Keith, anything else?
Yeah. Well, I like the overall feeling of the characters, because there's just something about when you throw like a European or Australian sort of dialect at a few things. It just something about the way that the lines come off just makes it that much better, I think. But apart from that, or actually maybe because of that, the soldier at the very end was surprisingly likable. The one who said, "Okay, let's go round and round and let you out." Maybe a little contrived for whatever reason, but still, it kind of messed with my expectations a little bit there as well. They were making him so likable. I thought that maybe they were going to work something out.
Buddy cops.
Yeah.
I thought he was a cocky son of a bitch.
But I don't know, something was just, it was very humorous.
But that was kind of a running thing through it. It's almost like, okay, are they playing up on Australian male stereotypes where anytime two new males meet each other, they discuss things by beating the shit out of each other? because like Barry and Chalker beat the shit out of each other when they first meet, and then later in the movie, there's punches between that guy and the soldier. It's like, again, they love to fight apparently.
Yeah.
Him and Benny didn't. You just shot my friend's head off. Yeah. Sorry, mate. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I didn't find that ending believable. There not the ending, the fight between the two guys believable, and what you said about if it's Australian guys' masculinity and they have to fight each other, that makes more sense.
Believable in what way?
Okay, I'm gonna say what I would have done if I had been in that situation. If I had been the soldier, and I had someone that was taunting me from the car, and he was handcuffed to the car.
Just beat the shit out of him.
I would have left. But you stay there. What are you gonna do? I mean, you have to find a machete and then come find me. It's like everyone's dead except me. My gas mask is off. If I'm not the correct blood type, I've only got a moment to live. Fuck it, I'm out. I'm going to go do whatever I want to do for the last minute. And now that might be the male machismo of everything. Or it could be something else. I don't know. If it had been me, I would have been like, bye, I'm out. I don't want to spend my last time on Earth.
Well, maybe it was look at this shit. You killed all my mates. I'm bleeding. Don't have a gas mask. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Because I'm dead anyway. Why not?
Right.
You killed everybody I like. I killed everybody you like.
I'm going to have the satisfaction of snapping your neck myself.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because it looked like he wasn't going to do it too. That was like he was over him. He was like illustrating a point. He knew that he was going to be tactically superior to him. So it's just this is a demonstration.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought. So I thought maybe they're going to move on to something else. Like, okay, you need to help me fix things, or something. And
well, if he was that main soldier, which I believe he was through the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even caught that. So.
Yeah, I don't think
that was the problem is you couldn't tell from
because
the
of the
gas.
mask.
Yeah, but his helmet had a rank on it. I think it was either corporal or sergeant.
That.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that there was a main soldier up to that point. So
I don't think
like,
he technically, the way he treated the scientists, I think he was like, yeah, we're going to save the human race. I'm awesome, so I'm in charge. Mm-hmm. I don't care about anybody else.
Yeah. See, it wasn't the same guy, because in that case, the guy in the back of the truck flips out when the zombie knees him in the nuts.
Yeah.
And then at the last fight, when Barry grabs him in the nuts, he flips out and says, "Don't you ever go for another man's nuts."
Interesting.
Which means, Barry and Brooke think alike.
Yeah.
Go for balls.
So do we have anything? Why don't we go around and do our ratings? Again, we do 2 ratings on Marianne's Macabre Movie Review. We do enjoyment factor and then quality factor. Examples: Kayako versus Sadako. Enjoyment factor was way, way, way up there, 8s and 9s. Where quality factor, story factor, down to the 2s and the 3s. But it is what it is. So Steve, why don't you start?
So I refresh my memories. It's a scale 1 to 10.
1 to 10, yep.
So I've already said it several times during this podcast, but in terms of enjoyment factor, I'd put this like maybe at an 11.
It was very good.
But yeah, in terms of if you're going to measure it on the history of cinema, no, it's like a 3 or a 4. But they do really well with what they were going for. Oh, yeah. They nailed their target, I think. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, top enjoyment factor, obviously. It's just a blast to watch. And all the little quirks. Quality, yeah, it's obvious that they're not, super professional filmmakers who have all the bells and whistles going on. But considering what they went through to do it, I'm going to give it about a 5 or 6 on that quality, considering. Yeah, compared to, like, American movies, that are done by all the professionals, no, they're probably a 3 or 4. But considering how it's done, like over the 4 years on weekends, so consistent, very few things out of place, I'm going to say 5 or 6.
See, I think it was much better than Casablanca. I mean...
Oh, well, it's okay. We might have to fight now, Keith. I'm sorry.
I mean, Casablanca wasn't scary at all. There wasn't even any gore in it, so like, how, as a horror
Nazis?
movie, how could you...
Scary, but not gory. Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, yes, I am joking, of course. It is like comparing apples to
Right.
like grapes or something. It's like the same kind of...
To
Apples
root beer.
to chicken?
Yeah, things like that. 8 or 9, somewhere around there for enjoyment. As I said, I mean, I wished I had been a little bit more shocked by some of the concepts, but it was still very original within, you know. So, what else? The quality-wise, I mean, I wasn't really very distracted by like the visual. I mean, the film quality or like the effects. There wasn't anything like so like that looks so obviously awful or anything like that. So, I mean. The fact that they took 4 years to film it over weekends too. I mean, even that, like, that's kind of bonus points. That seems like it's like a dare you would give somebody, like a challenge to make it seem consistent over that. So that in itself is.
So it was a.
I have to give a number. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, 6, 5 to 6 something.
For quality and
overall.
and overall.
See, now you're making me feel bad about the quality rating I gave it. I'm just talking about like
I know, right? Like
Oscar versus
dramatic. I mean, it was well acted for what they were doing.
Exactly.
It's hard to. You can't really.
Well, I agreed with you.
Right, you know.
I said Hollywood standards 3
Right.
to 4, but
Right.
for what they had, 5 to 6.
I mean, just indie. I mean, even Hollywood. Regardless, I mean, I think it's just genre. It's really hard to compare it to something that is supposed to be quote unquote good.
Right.
You know.
Okay, I will not
6, I
hold
don't
you.
know.
I will not hold you to any. What would you give it?
He said
for-
I think a 6.
Yeah.
What's the
I
higher
said 8
number?
or 9 for the
Well,
the over
entertainment.
enjoyment.
I'm giving them
8 or 9 for
same
one.
same,
6.
same
Gotcha.
variable.
Okay, so I would give it a 9 for enjoyment factor. Probably a 7 for quality, 6 for quality. Only because of the shaky camera. That's why I gave it. I started out with 7, and then I remembered I have a headache right now because of that. So, I mean, and that's really. And if these guys aren't full on stunt people or anything, you can use shaky camera to hide. I don't have a fight choreographer, so let's do this. Shake the camera so it looks like we're doing something amazing. You know, I mean, that's a great way to get through it without having to bring in another body to choreograph your fights.
It did look like they were doing their stunts too, at least in one of the shots. I mean, it looked like it was them. So
that's another thing to mask. Like, yeah, I can throw a punch, but don't make me do kung fu or whatever. So 6 and 9 for me. Thought it was a really awesome film. There was something I wanted to mention, but I am blanking on it now. We'll go through and do our. I do remember what it was. I couldn't understand them sometimes, especially with the
I think that was maybe your sound setup. Because we don't have that issue when we listen to it at our place.
I was wondering because I was like, "Oh, they're speaking an accent. We better turn up the volume."
Yeah, when you guys first started playing the film, I was like, "Oh my god, they can't understand what's happening with those accents and the helmets on."
Yeah, the accents and the helmet. I was like,
"Oh, you just have to come over to our house."
it was just the way it was mixed for this. Yeah,
right.
Just the voices were pretty quiet in certain places, and it was interesting. I was thinking that it was almost kind of realistic in the sense that if you were riding in a car with somebody, they don't do that thing where, as a Hollywood movie would do, their voice is boosted like over everything else. So it's like you couldn't hear these people.
Yeah, dude's wearing a hockey mask trying to talk to you about stuff. Yeah, it's going to be a little muffled.
The other thing that they do is in Hollywood movies that always drives me crazy is they put their hand on the steering wheel and then they turn and talk to the person for like 20 minutes and look at the street. Oh my God, you're going to get to an accident. It's going to be one of those like jump scares because oh gosh, there's there's a car there all of a sudden or something.
Deer coming
Or
through
a
the windshield.
deer. So, go ahead, Keith.
Well, actually, just as an example, we were watching The Hitman's Bodyguard
Yeah.
Oh, God.
just last week. And, it really wasn't.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I really, I went in.
That
with
wasn't a
love.
judgmental. Oh God! It was like, oh, okay. I didn't know someone would. I know certain guys who would go out and see that opening day.
Yeah.
I had not pegged you two as being in that crowd.
We saw it on Sunday, and I went in with low expectations, and it was amazing. It was very funny. It was, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson were great.
Yeah. My point in bringing that up is that there were certain scenes where they were driving, and there's like a missing window or feel like a top down or something like that, and you could just hear them just like they were sitting around a table, and it shouldn't work that way generally. But
movie logic.
Yeah. So, Steve, is there anything you want to hype, talk about? Anything you're passionate about?
Nothing really going on right now. I'm still writing my fiction, still trying to get more stories out there published. But I've had nothing new since the last podcast. But my website's still up. I'm still out there on social media if you want to track me down. beerandmonsters.com.
Awesome. Betty?
Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm making dog costumes for Halloween.
Awesome. Again, Betty is an amazing costumer. We will have pictures of some of her costumes, especially her dog costumes. She's mentioned it. She has 2 corgis that wear cute little outfits that are very intricate and fancy. So, Keith, what about you?
no, listen to that.
Okay, well, I'll just keep going then. If Keith has nothing to tell he wants to talk about.
I guess I am recording my 5th audiobook at the moment.
That's kind of cool.
At which point, or during which I am usually a lot more articulate and easy to understand as I'm saying all these things. But it's going to be fiction, which is nice for a change. There's It's All Been Done Radio Hour podcast. We're recording another show tomorrow at Mad Lab. Although that doesn't really help you necessarily.
Will not help anybody listening to this now.
By the time you listen to this, it'll be long gone.
But there will be other ones, other months.
It is
second Saturday.
Monthly podcast that is done live at Mad Lab Theater in Columbus, Ohio at 5:30 on Saturdays, which is the second Saturday of every month. Madlab.net
Org.
We'll get that right. We'll get that right.
Try both. See what happens.
One at a time, though. Not like org.net or not.
Anyway, I am going to talk about something serious for a moment. It's Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, which is September. And my mother passed away from ovarian cancer in December 31st, 2015. She was diagnosed in June of 2015. It was stage 3, and it was very surprised because ovarian cancer is a silent killer. It has a lot of symptoms, but they mask as different things. I have, there's bloating, there's acid reflux, I've got heartburn, or I'm feeling full all of a sudden when I start to eat, or frequent urge to urinate is another one. So for women, if you're all listening out there, you're like, well, I have these monthly. If you have those symptoms for more than 2 weeks, go see your doctor. It could save your life. Know the symptoms, know your body. If you take action early, you can survive. That's my soapbox. That's all I'm going to say. Thanks, folks. I'll see you on the other side.